Thank you for joining us for our Growing with MedAccred and MedMMAP webinar series. We're on webinar number 2 here. I am Scott Shine, the National Program Manager for the Medical Manufacturers MedAccred Accreditation Pathway Program, a mouthful, but we abbreviate that with MedMMAP, which you may have seen all over our LinkedIn page and our website. And I'm with Gen Edge, which is a manufacturing extension partnership here in Virginia, also abbreviated as MEP. April Schmidt is going to assist me today, our organizational development practice manager, and she's co-hosting and producing our webinar series. I'm kind enough to do that. Thank you, April. Our format for today, pretty simple. We're going to have a quick overview for on MedAccred from Connie Conboy and Justin McCabe from our MedAccred accreditors at Performance Review Institute, PRI. A quick overview from me on MedMMAP and how we support manufacturers pursuing MedAccred certification. Then 10 to 15 minutes from Scott Goolsby from Stryker on the importance of MedAccred to their organization. 10 to 15 minutes from Brian Barrera from Trademark Plastics on their certification experience with MedAccred. And then 15, 20 minutes of Q&A. That's really the focus of this webinar. We want to get your questions answered today and give you as much information as we can here at 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern time on a Friday. In addition, we have experienced subject matter experts on the line as well, attending who have performed pre-audit assessments as part of MedMMAP. So we may, if you have detailed questions, are available as well. A few quick ground rules. Please stay on mute until the Q&A portion of the webinar. The Q&A portion will be at the end after Brian completes his pitch. You may submit questions or comments in the chat as we go. I really encourage you to do that. When the question's fresh in your mind, throw it into the chat. We'll collect those and provide them to our speakers during the Q&A. Please indicate your name, company, and any speaker you wish to direct the question to. Once we have exhausted those questions, we'll move to live Q&A. Please give a digital reaction, thumbs up, so we can call on you. And finally, please fill out our Zoom poll that you'll see pop up towards the end of the webinar. With that, April, take it away.
All right, thank you everybody so much for joining us today. I also want to let you know that we will send out a copy of the recording and slides to you. You can look for them to arrive to you later next week. Please also make sure to check your junk folders because sometimes emails end up there. So I have the honor of introducing Connie Conboy. Connie is the director of MedAccred. She is responsible for the program, which is an industry-managed critical manufacturing supply chain oversight process for the medical device industry. She is also joined by her colleague, Justin McCabe, who is the manager for the MedAccred program. Connie?
Thank you, April. And I would like to introduce the MedAccred program initially through a short video filmed at the MD&M West show in February of 2020. I hope you remember this was back in the good old days when we were all face-to-face at large meetings and conferences. And in this video, you'll hear from industry executives from major medical device companies and from suppliers like yourselves that have been through the MedAccred accreditation process. So let's play the video.
The subscribing companies to MedAccred are the top tier medical device manufacturers in the world. Stryker, Becton Dickinson, Boston Scientific, Medtronic.
I see MedAccred as an initiative that will be widely used across most of the medical device manufacturers, if not all.
We really are ensuring that the suppliers that get accredited are manufacturing with the highest possible standards.
As a result, we produce a safe product.
These are products that could end up in my body and my relatives, so they have to be done right because literally lives are at stake.
MedAccred gives us the ability to do something that practically would be very difficult for us to do on our own.
It drives cost out of the process, and it allows us to actually redirect our resources to more value-added activities.
We anticipate that this will become the standard expectation for supplier certification. And in particular, what that means is that the quality of our componentry and therefore our products will increase and therefore will help ensure patient safety in the end. And ultimately, that's what we're in business to do, right, is protect our patients.
In the future, if suppliers are not MedAccred accredited, The subscribing OEMs just move to the next supplier or manufacturer.
Having that accreditation really sets them apart from other suppliers that are not.
What MedAccred has allowed us to do is partner with those larger medical device organizations globally and get deeper within their leadership structure and create better relationships.
Therefore, it's almost becoming essential that companies become accredited if they want to participate with these subscriber companies.
What MedAccred brings is that same assurity in processes and in verification and certification that NADCAP has brought for a very long period of time, and that's welcomed from us from the medical device area.
But at the end, it's validating that we are producing the high quality products for medical industry.
It's done nothing but made us better and better as we're moving forward.
The MedAccred audit's very different because it's very narrowly scoped.
Basically, companies need to have a quality management system in place. Quality auditor comes in for a QMS audit, and he looks at many facets of your company, from sales to purchasing to production.
They have a difficult job in that they look at a very wide range of topics, and they generally don't go very deep.
Where with MedAccred, it's just the opposite. The actual audit is only an inch wide, but a mile deep.
You have some world-class companies that determine the criteria.
This is the wave of the future. We can now cut back on our audits and go forward with a better system than what we have today.
I strongly suggest that contract manufacturers will join this program.
As we see more and more subscribers joining, eventually it will become just like the ISO certification, where you need to have accreditation in order to be considered.
I would tell suppliers, please get involved, participate.
It represents a good opportunity to expand your business all throughout the industry.
That drives the quality of our products and ultimately leads towards improved patient safety.
I truly believe that we have joined a community that cares about quality.
Thank you. So as you've heard, the focus of the MedAccred program is on improving product quality, and most importantly, it's designed to improve patient safety. My organization is a not-for-profit trade association, and we administer the MedAccred program for the medical device industry. In fact, 10 of the major medical device companies are subscribing, and the list continues to grow. These companies are actually companies that run the program, and Edwards Life Sciences, Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, Baxter, Becton Dickinson, Roche Diagnostics, Philips, Stryker, Boston Scientific, and Bosch Health. As subscribers, they provide funding, determine the audit criteria, and they interview and select the auditors. They have full visibility into the audit findings and are able to see how the findings are closed out by the supplier. After their review, and once they are satisfied, they will then actually vote to grant you the accreditation. So your accreditation comes from these 10 subscribing companies. Next slide. Now let's get to the real story. What do the suppliers think? So as you can see from this slide, 89% of the companies have said that it's added value. And we did this survey in August of 2020 with all of the accredited companies. So everyone that has been through the process was surveyed, and 63% of them responded. Now they reported specifically they had advantages in terms of quality outcomes and business outcomes. So with quality outcomes, they said 71% said it improved their quality, 61% said it reduced in-house defect rates, 56% said it reduced defective product escaping to customers. And with business outcomes, they reported results in improved revenue growth. It also contributed to winning new customers, and 62% reported that they won new customers. 69% said it improved process efficiency, and 73% said it improved customer satisfaction. So as you can see, these suppliers really see it as driving improvement in quality, but also enabling them to expand their business within the growing medical device industry. Now back to April.
Thank you, and thank you, Connie and Justin, so much. Now I'd like to introduce Scott Shine. He's the National Program Manager for MedMMAP. He's going to provide a quick overview of the program and how it supports U.S. manufacturers who are interested in getting started with their MedAccred certification. Scott?
Thanks, April. Before we get into MedMMAP, the program in particular, I'm going to just give a quick overview on what a manufacturing extension partnership is, also known as an MEP, and what our network is all about. Some of you may not be familiar, but MEP is a unique public-private partnership. We deliver a wide range of solutions and services to U.S. manufacturers. There's one in every state, including Puerto Rico. So we have 51 centers, over 1,000 advisors, experts, and our mission is to support U.S. manufacturers, help them access resources, and ultimately help them to grow. And I should also mention that our connection to the federal government is through NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, through the U.S. Department of Commerce. So as it relates to MedMMAP, MedMMAP is a federal grant through NIST that we are currently executing. And the mission of the grant is really to support small and mid-sized U.S. manufacturers, both within the medical device industry and those looking to enter the medical device industry, to get started on the road to MedAccred accreditation. NIST identified this not just as a way for small and mid-sized manufacturers to grow, but also the federal government views this as a national security issue, in that we need to maintain a solid foundation of U.S. manufacturing, especially within the medical device industry. And that really is the mission behind this grant. And so MedMMAP, we're managing the program here at Gen Edge, which is the MEP here in Virginia, and partnering with 8 centers across the country to support. So how does this all fit together? So you have many pieces here, but really our focus are the green pieces here as it pertains to pre-audit assessments, really helping small and mid-sized businesses understand what their gaps are as it relates to the audit criteria, the requirements for the critical process, really working with small and mid-sized businesses to understand what it will take to close those gaps, training and mentoring supplier teams on that gap closure. And so that's really our mission, is really to facilitate the MedAccred certification and enable small and mid-sized businesses that may view it as potentially overwhelming or potentially a bridge too far to cross. MEP's job is to help with that, and we're funded to do that through this program. Who are we partnering with across the country? You can see excellent geographic coverage across the country. We have centers in the Midwest, California, Puerto Rico, and the East Coast that are supporting this program. So if you are a business or manufacturer that happens not to be located in one of these states, that does not mean we cannot support you. We can travel, but I wanted to highlight the centers that are actively participating in this program. Again, one of the requirements of the program is that you have an existing quality management system. I should mention that. I'm sure Brian and Scott will mention that here in a little bit, but it doesn't need to be 13485. It could be ISO 9001, but that is a requirement to participate, not just in the program, but also to earn MedAccred certification. So for those of you interested in learning more and working with us, please reach out, and we look forward to talking more to some of you about the program in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. And now I'd like to introduce Scott Goolsby. Scott is the Supplier Controls Manager for Stryker, and he is involved in all aspects of supplier management and sourcing programs. Scott?
Thank you, April. Thank you, Scott. So when I talk about MedAccred in the context of Stryker and the program in general, I always start with our mission statement at Stryker, which is that together with our customers, we're driven to make healthcare better. And when we internalize that within my team and the other teams around Stryker that work with suppliers every day, the way we can do that is by working with better suppliers, helping the suppliers that we're already working with to get better as well, make smarter sourcing decisions in the future, those kinds of things. That's how we internalize that mission statement, really. And MedAccred helps us directly in this effort. There's a direct tie-in because what we're trying to do through MedAccred is increase quality, reduce risk. And what we can do by seeing our suppliers pursue MedAccred is ensure that they're going to be operating at a world-class level and reducing risk to its lowest reasonable point. And this is a program that we've been involved with since it was created. We've been both on the management council side in terms of how do we run the program, but then also we've given some of our best technical experts to the task groups that have developed the criteria. I mean, at the core of this program is some world-class audit criteria, right? So when we think about MedAccred, you should be thinking about special processes. So when you hear that word, MedAccred, you should think about special processes. And you know, the current processes that are available for accreditation are welding, heat treating, plastics, PCB and PCBA, sterilization, sterile packaging, and cable wire harness. And we're always looking for future processes as well. But technical experts from different companies, including suppliers that do those processes, as well as the OEMs, have been dedicated to these task groups that have developed this world-class criteria that we all agree on. And that's really at the core of the program, is that we've got technical experts from each company or many companies that have participated. And so Stryker's been supportive of this since really day one. And we've dedicated our technical experts as well as myself. I'm not a technical expert, but I'm involved in procurement systems. And so I've been on the management council side of things, supporting how the program is run, as well as working on the engagement work stream. So we've got a separate work stream that is helping us communicate well with stakeholders, both supplier stakeholders as well as internal at our companies. And so we've really got a holistic approach to this. We've got the technical side covered. Stryker feels very confident in that. We also have the overall program management side covered, and we're active participants in that. And so when I think about how we're involved and how this program is really evolving for Stryker, you know, when we started, it was just an idea, and then we piloted it, and then we expanded it. But now we're starting to actually build it into the way we do business at Stryker. So there's really two aspects of that. There's our business processes, which means our commercial, sourcing and procurement systems, and then also the quality system side of things. So I'll take a few minutes to explain each side of those things. And of course, at the end of our meeting today, you can ask any questions you like about this. But the business or commercial side of things, we have made this program what we call a supplier quality program that's enabled by sourcing. So it's really a two-pronged approach for us. We have chosen to make this an input to new business. So our goal is to make business decisions based on MedAccred accreditation when one of these special processes is in scope. And so, you know, sometimes I get a really frequently asked question is, well, when will MedAccred be a requirement? And that sounds like a really good question until you get into the details. And it still is a good question because a lot of people want to know that, but actually there's a lot of nuance in that. And we have chosen to focus on new business, future business, because our whole goal is to reduce risk. And sometimes if you make a choice to do a manufacturing transfer of an existing product, for example, that could actually increase your risk. And so we're not going to say that by 2022, every supplier has to have this or we're pulling our business. That's absolutely not the case. That's not practical. It's not feasible for us. So what we've chosen to do is make this an input to our new business program and actually awarding business to suppliers. The second piece is the actual quality system piece. So one of the bits of feedback we get from many of our suppliers, specifically our sterilization suppliers, is that they constantly have customers auditing them. And so what we've done is we've actually built the MedAccred program into our quality system as well. So we've actually gone and audited PRI. Of course, PRI is the company that runs MedAccred, and PRI is actually on our approved supplier list at Stryker. And what that means is that we actually are free to use MedAccred audit results in our own audit program. And so we started out small. The idea was we would just take very simple inputs, like we would look at the audit report and we would adjust our audit plan and our audit scope, maybe spend a bit of less time looking at the process, maybe more time looking at other aspects of their quality system. And that was our first step. And so I would say about 2 years ago, we built that into our quality system and we utilized MedAccred audits for the first time in our own audit program. Just recently, we've actually updated our process and procedures so that we have stronger verbiage in there. And we're actually encouraging our audit program to utilize this in a more widespread manner, up to and including full replacement of audits. And so the intent is that, for example, if you're a sterilization provider and you are accredited by MedAccred, that we could actually replace an entire Stryker supplier audit with a MedAccred audit. The idea would then be that you know, as a sterilization provider, you would not have to receive so many audits. And we definitely know that that's a big benefit to a lot of our suppliers. So outside of those two approaches, the business side and the quality side, the other way that we're demonstrating our commitment to the program is, of course, through our involvement in Management Council. So we talk about all sorts of things there with other companies that are involved in industry, such as, you know, how do we get the word out? How do we communicate better? How do we expand our footprint in terms of the processes that we're covering? That sort of thing. We speak, of course, at, I think Connie mentioned MD&M West. We speak at trade shows. We do events like we are today. And we simply answer questions. We're happy always to talk about the program. And so if you have questions, we're very happy to talk about them and answer them. But then also within Management Council, we've decided to open up a specific sub-team for program engagement. We realize that as Stryker, for example, we may have some best practices that differ from what's happened at Johnson & Johnson or Philips or Boston Scientific or Medtronic. And why not get together and actually talk about those and come up with shared resources, tools, ideas, so that we can get the program out, get the word out, and improve our overall utilization of the program. And so I'm leading that work stream, and we're doing things like case studies. We're doing things like material development, so that anybody can pull out a very simple PowerPoint document and teach people about the program in 20 minutes. Where the case study piece is just actually going into accredited suppliers and understanding the objective value that the program has had to those suppliers. And so, you know, we spend a lot of time at this, and that is the illustration in itself that we are committed to this as Stryker. In terms of a bit more on the program side, you'll hear this a lot, but I'll say it again. An ISO certification has to be broad in nature, and it's very focused on your quality system. That's by definition what that is. They don't typically, unless it just happens to be an auditor that in their previous life, for example, worked at a PCBA company, they don't typically go very deep in the process itself. MedAccred is all about that process. They're not spending time in meeting rooms. They're out on the floor with the operators, looking at parameters, looking at the control parameters of each process, and they know their stuff. They're, you know, sometimes multi-decade, most of the time, multi-decade experienced in that specific process. So MedAccred is very deep when it comes to the process. The fact that you have a quality system in place is a given. We're not going to allow an accreditation audit unless you have demonstrated that you do have a quality system in place. And so we're not going to look at your management responsibility procedure. We're not going to look at your capital procedure. We're going to focus on the process. And then finally, I would just like to say a quick word about the FDA. So we definitely saw a setback last year because of COVID, but prior to COVID, we were actually in very advanced discussions with the FDA. They're very involved in this, or very interested in this, I should say, not involved. They're very interested in this because they see it as aligned with their Case for Quality program. They're very interested specifically in the sterilization piece. We have proposals ready to go as soon as people can travel again to speak with the FDA about potentially utilizing MedAccred themselves as well. And so I think the future is quite bright for the program. And I can tell you that just from our side, from Stryker, we're very supportive of the program, and we're utilizing it to make business decisions today. In the future, we want to expand that. So we understand that's in isolated pockets around our organization. We have, I think, over 40 sites worldwide, Stryker does, and many of the sites have not incorporated MedAccred yet. That's just a function of us taking our time to build this out. But several of our businesses actually have started making business decisions, meaning giving preferential business to suppliers that have accreditation. In fact, I'm told that just recently we launched our very first product out of Kalamazoo that was 100% accredited, meaning every process that could be accredited was accredited. Obviously, there are processes on a specific product that cannot be accredited because we don't have the criteria yet. But for example, if there was welding on that product, it was accredited. If there was heat treating, it was accredited. So that's I believe, an industry first, and we're very proud of that. That's what I'd like to say about the program today. And of course, at the end of this hour, I hope we have time for questions.
Thank you so much, Scott, and we will definitely have time for questions at the end. I would like to introduce Brian. Brian was hired as a sales manager for Trademark Plastics, Inc. in 2013. After developing a thorough understanding of operational analytics, along with continued growth in sales, he was promoted to VP of Operations in early 2018, and recently was promoted to Chief Operating Officer. He oversees the organization consisting of production, processing, quality, sales, marketing, and all engineering departments. Trademark Plastics received their MedAccred certification in February of 2021. Brian?
Thanks for that intro, April. Really appreciate it. So yeah, first of all, I just want to thank Connie and Justin for inviting Trademark to be a part of this. We're really excited to speak. We're really excited to tell you guys about the importance of having this certificate, this accreditation. I mean, this is huge. There's actually an article too. There's an article that was on LinkedIn recently about competitive manufacturing, the economy in the United States. It's a great read. If you guys get a chance, go on LinkedIn and check it out, because it's a really good read, and it shows the importance of this accreditation and how it's going to affect the manufacturing economy. It's really good stuff. So April did a little bio on me. So yeah, I've been with Trademark since 2013. I was a sales manager. After understanding customer portfolios and creating customer retention management systems, I was promoted to VP of Sales. And then after that, after I understood the business aspect, the profitable aspect of the business, and the operational aspect, I was then promoted to VP of Ops. And then after that, now I'm a COO. So I'm very excited to talk to you guys. I'm not going to read each slide word for word. I am going to read this one though word for word, because we developed this paragraph specifically for this presentation. So Trademark Plastics TPI is focused on being the best service provider by using our experience and our expertise to be a custom injection molder. Our commitment to regulatory and statutory requirements, continual improvements, employee investment, and job training knowledge is how we have built a strong foundation for the value for the success of our customers and continued partnership. So that's Trademark, and I'm going to explain to you guys why MedAccred is so important to Trademark. Next slide, please, April. So TPI was established in 1989. We originated in Rancho Cucamonga, California. So we were in Rancho throughout the 90s, and we had one facility, went to 2 facilities, 3, 4, you name it. And then once we saw that there was an enterprise zone being built in Riverside, California, we decided to consolidate all of our facilities to one location in Riverside, California, right? So we've always been an injection molder of thermoplastic material. We began molding medical components in 1995. So I'm going to explain that further throughout the presentation of why, molding medical components in 1995 is so important to this process. So we have a heavy focus here at Trademark on all aspects of engineering, quality engineering, process engineering, project, tooling, automation, part design, mold design. We have the owners here at Trademark Plastics have invested a lot of money the last 3 years on Trademark personnel, over $1 million in the last 2 years alone. I myself graduated from Pepperdine University. The owners of Trademark paid for my education. They paid for my lodging. I mean, we really believe in human capital here at Trademark, and I'll explain later on how that all integrates with each other. So next slide, please. So business planning. So as a lot of you may know, the current global plastic medical device industry is valued at around $450 billion. Now that was in 2020. That's also pre-COVID. So post-COVID, those numbers might have changed either in a positive way or a negative way. But as of right now, it's set to reach $600 billion by 2023. So this is a very robust market that we're in, right? There's it's going to be around a long time, obviously, and as the world goes on, as people get older and there's illnesses like the COVID-19, there's always going to be a need for cures. There's always going to be a need for medical devices. So it's a very robust market that we're in. Trademark currently holds ISO 13485, and this is a neat area where I can talk about the ISO accreditation compared to the MedAccred, right? So as it was mentioned by other speakers, the ISO audits, it audits the business in its entirety. It audits the entire quality management system. And there's a need for that, absolutely, right? That's a given that there's a need for that. But the MedAccred was more, to us here at Trademark, was more production-based, right? They were out on the floor, they rolled up their sleeves and they got dirty with us. It's a clean room environment, but yes, they got dirty with us. So they got out there with us, but they allowed us to plan efficiently for for the entirety of the audit, which was very neat, and I'll get into that in some coming slides. So this is beginning to be required by the top OEMs, and we believe it's the new staple of the medical device industry. We are an extension of our customers here at Trademark. We want to be an extension of them. That's our whole point of being here at Trademark. And in order for the industry to handle the influx of global medical devices, our process will need to be as efficient as possible. So we're doing what the customers need, what the industry is calling for. So MedAccred is a perfect fit for TPI. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been molding products since 1995. So in order to continue our 30-year path towards excellence in medical component manufacturing, we need the certificate. So it makes sense in the eyes of our customers, and it makes sense for our business plan as well. So next slide, please. So why MedAccred? So Trademark Plastics produces more than 300 different medical components for the top original equipment manufacturers in the world. The top OEMs in the world, that's how many different components we manufacture, and that's not including colors. So we do a lot more colors, right? So to my surprise, because of the pandemic and what's been happening around the world, I've been involved a lot more in sustainable development goals, corporate social responsibility, as well as making sure our employees are safe. In this pandemic, we didn't even shut down a day. We were open the whole time. So it was a surprise to me that we were able to manufacture 500 million components in 2020. So that is huge for Trademark. I was blown away when I saw that. I thought we were at 150 or 200 million components. So it was a pleasant surprise to see that we did 500 million components. The medical device sector accounts for 85% of Trademark sales. So that's what we do here. We do some consumer product, but for the most part, medical components is what we do. To talk about market share a little bit, TPI has 6 of the top 30 medical device OEMs as our customers, and we have 13 out of the top 100 on a more broader view, right? So that's what we do. We have to adhere to all their requirements. We have 52 machines here at Trademark. We're open 24/7 to meet customer demand. We have a Class 7, Class 8 clean room and 2 controlled environment rooms. Now, this is not a sales pitch. The reason why I'm saying this is because with all these aspects, the 52 machines, open 24/7, clean room molding, we have to have control of our processes here at Trademark. So the more audits that we have, the more customer visibility that we have for our processes, it speaks volumes for our business here at Trademark. And once again, as I've mentioned, TPI's goal is to align with our customers' expectations. Customer intimacy is our top priority. And 2 of TPI's clients are MedAccred subscribers. So once again, we have to adhere to the requirements of our customers, and MedAccred just made sense for us. Next slide, please. Challenges. So this is a really neat slide. Challenges. There was really no major challenges for us, right? So TPI currently conducts weekly internal audits. We have 6 ISO 13485 auditors here at Trademark that are certified through ASQ. So, you know, we constantly do audits. We do annual audits, weekly audits, daily audits, internal audits. So we have to make sure that our process are always seamless, right? So we're also OSHA compliant. So I'm going to integrate everything right now in this slide. So, you know, OSHA, MedAccred, there's improvements needed in hazardous risk reduction. So both OSHA and both MedAccred, you know, audit the proper use of hoses, hot cold water systems, items identified with high voltage. So then integrating all these aspects with Trademark's goal, we have a goal of lights out manufacturing, and that's to improve employee safety and retention by eliminating labor intensive processes. So amidst this pandemic, you know, in California, some employees are paid more to stay home. That's just the truth. And also the minimum wage issue going on in California, you know, it's jumping up to about $15 an hour by 2022. So with MedAccred, with OSHA compliance, you know, with SDG goals, and then also within our current, our internal metrics, everything makes sense to employee safety and make sure we mitigate risk as much as possible. So over the last 3 years, we've invested more in automation. 3 automated tape machines, you know, that was audited. That was audited by ISO, and it was audited also by OSHA. So 25 robots, 11 index conveyors, you know, we've full-blown automation here at Trademark. We also just purchased a CT scanning machine. And this was to allow our quality department to go become operators, right? So the automation, everything integrated, that's exactly what we're trying to do because there's the pandemic and there's issues with labor stability, especially through temp agencies. You know, we have to find a way to get our, to get as many people working out on the production floor as much as possible. So next slide, please, April. So TPI's accreditation pathway, this right here is going to explain the whole process of the accreditation pathway, right? So we were notified to have a pre-audit, and that was conducted internally for 1 week. Then after the pre-audit, we had a pre-assessment that was with a MedAccred auditor, and that was for 3 days. So we had the pre-audit, the pre-assessment for 3 days. Then after that, you know, we were provided beneficial feedback to ensure the preparedness for the audit. So the auditor gave us a full-blown report on what they're going to be looking for, on what we can improve before the actual audit happens. So this was huge to make it so seamless for us to get this accreditation. So then after the pre-audit, after the pre-assessment, we then conducted another internal pre-audit. So that was 3 audits conducted before the actual audit in October. So MedAccred came out in October, they did the audit, and we were certified by September. But what was really cool about this whole process was after the audit, we were provided 21 days to respond to nonconformances. I'm sure as many of you know, sometimes you're requested, hey, can you respond by the end of the week? Can you respond by the end of next week? You're only given a few days to respond to some changes that you have to make internally. But what was great about this was we were given 21 days to respond. So that gave us a lot of time. It was a big stress reliever for us, especially for our quality director, Aaron Clement, who was you know, pulling his hair out after every audit. So for this one in particular, 21 days was, you know, gave us a lot of time. And then after the 21 days, this is when it got a little nerve-wracking. You know, there were 7 days for the review board to look at it. So once again, myself and our quality director were constantly logging into the portal and seeing if our nonconformances were accepted, or if our responses for nonconformances were accepted. You know, we kept logging in every single day. So that was the process. But it was done within 3-4 business days. So they didn't take the whole 7 days, which was really neat for us. So next slide, April, please. So the benefits, this is my last slide, and then I'm going to stop talking, but the MedAccred benefits, global visibility as MedAccred certified supplier. You know, we're seen now, you know, we're a MedAccred certified supplier. As I said earlier, that article, please read it on LinkedIn, that speaks about the importance of what MedAccred is doing for the economy in a marketing, in a manufacturing aspect. I mean, it's huge. So to be partners with MedAccred is so huge for Trademark. Customers have shown a tremendous amount of interest based on this certification. I've had emails from customers saying, "Hey, congratulations! I saw your LinkedIn post. I saw your press release in a magazine. MedAccred's huge. You know, it's awesome stuff." You know, so TPI has received letters of possibility to obtain more business. We've received some RFQs. We've given some bids, and hopefully we get some of that business in the coming months. So MedAccred assisted TPI by auditing the production process more than the quality management system, which further improves our internal processes. So that was all in a customer aspect, but as an internal processes aspect, right? I mean, it was a stringent process, but there was so much preparation that it worked seamlessly. I know I've said that many times in the presentation, but it did. You know, when MedAccred was here, they watched us disassemble molds from the beginning of the process to the end. They let us know too that they would be doing this, which was crucial for us being prepared. They watched us set up molds out there as well. From, like I said, from the beginning to the end, they saw the whole process in its entirety. And then they also had to schedule real-time mold maintenance. We do mold maintenance here for a lot of our customers' molds. And they watched us do the mold maintenance as well. That's never happened to us before. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but we got through it. And obviously we have our accreditation, which is huge. So, and the other neat thing is that they actually witnessed a startup procedure as well. Our technicians zeroed out the machine, made sure the material was dry, and then we started the whole procedure from beginning to end, and they watched the entire thing. So quality inspection, packaging, you name it, they audited the process. So MedAccred further improved our production goals to give our customers Six Sigma level product. So that's our conclusion, right? It's improved our internal processes, you know, and it also gave us global visibility with a lot of our customers and our potential customers in the future. So that's it. Thank you, April.
Thank you so much, Brian. And now this is our time for the Q&A. So if you haven't already dropped your question in the chat below, I would encourage you to do that. If you're someone who likes to ask questions live, I'd ask on your screen down at the bottom, you see like that little smiley face that says reaction. There's one that has a little thumbs up. If you want to ask your question live, if you want to hit that digital thumbs up, that'll let me know that you have a question that you want to ask. And then we can make sure to call on you so that your question can be addressed. Some questions that I've already received. I have a question for Connie and Justin. Are you available? Hey, Connie.
Yes.
Can you tell us how many companies were in the supplier survey?
Yes, we actually surveyed all the accredited companies, and I don't know what the exact number return. We had 63% return rate for the survey. Certainly we had over 50 companies that that we were looking at, but that was a very good response rate from our perspective for the survey. But everyone actually was surveyed.
Thank you.
The number 26 or 27 rings a bell to me after I reviewed those results.
Okay. Thank you, Connie and Scott. And then we have a question, it's more general, and it might be another question for you, Connie and Justin, to be able to answer. And the question is in regards to making this MedAccred certification mandatory. As the aerospace industry has made NADCAP a requirement for aerospace safety, why aren't we as interested in safety in the medical device industry and making that a mandatory requirement? So I think that's a little bit towards Scott Goolsby, a little bit maybe for Connie and Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer the question. That's why I asked for the clarification. I could answer that for Stryker, but I think it's more a question for Connie and Justin for the industry, because I can't speak for the industry.
Sure, I'm happy to answer the question. In terms of mandating, I think, you know, we're still early in the program for the concept of mandating, but certainly I would say all 10 companies that are in as subscribing to the program that are funding it and really putting a lot of their own executive manpower into the oversight and development of the program. They're all interested in moving in the direction of really buying from suppliers who are accredited and encouraging the suppliers who they currently have to gain accreditation. You know, they're rolling it out, they're educating suppliers. And so any supplier that's really serious about growing business within the medical device industry, I would certainly suggest that if you do gain accreditation, it's going to differentiate your company and certainly open up a lot of doors, I think, for new potential business with you know, major medical device companies that are part of the program. But in terms of mandate, I think, you know, we'll be eventually heading in that direction as an industry. But at this point, it's certainly something that is a very smart move for any supplier that wants to grow their business in the industry. And Scott, I assume you would agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Connie. And I just want to let the audience know you should see on your screen a Zoom poll that's launched. If you could take a couple of seconds to answer these quick questions for us before the end of our webinar today, that would be greatly appreciated. And I thank you in advance for your time in doing that. Scott Goolsby, I have another question for you. How is Stryker getting locations like Puerto Rico involved in getting local suppliers involved?
Yeah, so in order to understand that, we have to understand our overall strategy. We're not targeting a specific site. So we don't do this by site. We do it by process and commodity. So at our global level, we have folks that are involved in understanding the total market conditions for metals, for example, PCBA, for example, sterilization, for example, and we handle it at that level. So the way that our individual sites will get impacted is indirectly through that. So we understand how's our supply base looking at a global level for PCBA, for example, and we look at how's our relationship with a supplier. Is it a good idea for us to speak with them about MedAccred? And then on the front end, when we're quoting new business, we are asking questions about accreditation. And then we've got specific sites that are now, I would say, those strategies that have trickled down to them, and they actually have suppliers that are accredited, and then they are executing on new business based on that. So it's not so much we're getting in a room and we're saying, how can we get sterilization at Puerto Rico involved? It's what is our overall strategy for sterilization? Who are our partners? Do we have enough companies that are accredited? If not, who should we be speaking to about becoming accredited? That's how it's done, not specific to site. But I did mention earlier that specific sites, some of our sites are more into this than others, and that's just a communication thing. We work for a huge company, and it takes a lot of effort to get the communication out. And so that's something we're learning about all the time, is how can we better communicate in our company about MedAccred.
Thank you, Scott. One question probably for Connie and Justin. If a company has multiple sites, does each site need to achieve certification?
Yes, each location will be individually audited and reviewed, and then that each location will be accredited. And again, a lot of companies start with one location and then expand it to their other locations as well. Usually they see a nice gain in terms of even improvement within their operations themselves.
Thank you, Connie. For our audience, I did not see anybody do their digital thumb, but if you did and I missed it, please feel free to flip your digital thumb up again so that I can call on you to ask your question live. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask our panel and audience, I'd ask that you put them in the chat so that we can ask them. All right, so another question for, I think, perhaps Brian and Scott, as well as Connie and Justin. What is the time and resources commitment to complete the MedAccred certification process?
I think this is a good one for Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks, Connie. Yeah, so as I mentioned in the slides, it was about a week for us to do the first pre-audit, the pre-assessment. It was about a week for us, and then the pre-assessment with actual MedAccred took another 3 days. And then when we decided to do another pre-audit, that took about another 3-4 days. And then when actual MedAccred came out again for the actual audit, that was another 3 days. So, I mean, it takes some resources, but as I mentioned, if you are ISO 13485 certified or OSHA compliant, you should have some of these processes already ready to go. But be prepared that MedAccred will go on the production floor and they will roll up their sleeves to go out there with you. But I think you'll probably take probably 3 days out of a week for a month. That's pretty much it.
But I think the feedback that we're getting from a lot of suppliers is that really the prep work to be ready is key, and that is highly varied based on where you're at as a company. So there's no cookie cutter answer to that one, because some companies, especially if you're already NADCAP certified, for example, for PCBA or another process that already is NADCAP, you're going to find some differences between the audit criteria. But in general, if you're already, for example, heat treat accredited for NADCAP, you would have a much easier time to prepare, and you would be probably much closer to being ready. But if you're starting from scratch, you're going to obviously have a lot more preparation. And so that it's a difficult question to answer without knowing where you're at as a company to begin with.
For Brian and Scott, for your particular companies, have you had to hire someone specifically to be able to oversee and manage the MedAccred program, or have you been able to manage that with current employees and internal resources?
I'll go first on that one, Scott, if you don't mind. Yeah, our quality director is very well trained in audits. As I mentioned in the presentation, we have about 6 internal auditors and 13 485. So we don't have to necessarily hire somebody else, but we do have to pull those resources to work, significantly on these audit processes. So no, we didn't hire anybody externally, but we did pull many internal resources in order to be prepared.
Thank you.
Yeah, and from my side, because we're not the ones becoming accredited on the process side, we didn't have to hire anybody. But I would say MedAccred for me for the past 6 years has been about 20% of my job.
Terrific. And Scott Shine, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, April. I think we have a couple more questions in chat. I just want to make sure we get them answered. And I have one here from Carl Leiter from MRPC. How many potential subscribers are currently interested in MedAccred? How many additional subscribers would you anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years? Hey, this looks like a good one for Connie and Scott.
Sure, we have 10 major medical device companies now subscribing to the program and actively involved. And we're certainly expecting that that's going to grow. Within the next 3 to 5 years, I would think we probably easily are going to have 20. We certainly have a number of them interested right now and probably joining soon, in addition to the 10 that we already have. So that number will continue to grow.
All right, Scott, any feedback on that one from your peers?
No, I mean, just anecdotally, I've just seen the program grow, basically double since I've been involved 6 years ago.
Great. All right, one more here from an MEP Center, CMTC, Kathy out in California. She's asking whether this will roll into 13485 in some way, shape, or form in the future. Kathy, very different, right? 13485 is the certification, the ISO certification for the quality management system. This is going to be focused on process, critical processes, similar to what we see in aerospace, where you have your ISO 9001 or you have AS 9100. It's really just a different certification versus your in-depth NADCAP critical process certification. I don't see these ever being linked, but I'll throw that to you, Connie.
I mean, the linkage for us right now is we require you to have a quality system certification before we come in to do the MedAccred audit. So that is something that's an excellent foundation, and it's required before we actually will even do a MedAccred audit. But they are very different types of audits, and we're looking for different things. And we have very different types of auditors too, because our auditors are very expert in that technology that they're auditing. They have a deep knowledge of that process. So any auditor you'd have really has a depth of knowledge in the manufacturing type operation that they're auditing.
And I'd like to add to that as well that the 13485 isn't required for all of our critical processes as a prerequisite, only for some of them. So in the plastics injection molding area or heat treating area, an ISO 9001 could be sufficient. So, but however, in the sterilization area, you must have 13485 to move forward with the sterilization accreditation. So.
Yeah, very good point, Justin. I mean, it depends on which process we're auditing. So each of the processes have different requirements for your quality system, but you do have to have a quality system certification, an ISO certification in place before we come in to do the audit. So if it would be, plastics audit, you wouldn't necessarily, unless your customer needed 13485, you wouldn't need 13485. You could have ISO 9001 for that type of audit. But as Justin said, for sterilization audits, certainly you need 13485 there.
Great, thank you. All right, we're gonna do a quick wrap up. First of all, thanks again for everyone attending our webinar today. I hope it was a good use of 60 minutes for you. Special thanks to our speakers, Scott, Brian, Connie, Justin, thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday to provide some insight to us and our audience. Our next webinar in our series of 4 is Tuesday, March 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with Danette Crooms from Edwards Life Sciences and Jay Matthews from Kimball Electronics. So if any of your colleagues missed it or you'd like to possibly switch gears to electronics, join us on Tuesday. We'll hope we'll be able to provide some additional insight into increasing the increasing importance of MedAccred to the medical device industry and how the MEP's MedMMAP program can support. To get started, I will put my contact information in chat. It's on this page as well. And if you can provide, we'll have a detailed supplier overview available for those that reach out. We'll have the presentations available. And so with that, thanks again for attending. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And thanks again.